There it is. Can I introduce to you Bobby Redman? Bobby is a retired psychologist living on the Central Coast in New South Wales. After being diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia in 2015, Bobby became a dementia advocate, taking every opportunity to educate the public and the professional community in her quest to improve the lives of those living with dementia. Bobby is chair of the Dementia Australia Advisory Committee, who work alongside the executive and the board, ensuring the voice of lived experiences involvement in their decision making. Locally, Bobby sits on the Central Coast Dementia Alliance and chairs the Central Coast Dementia Advisory Group. She also sits on the Central Coast Primary Health Network Consumer Committee and the Council Access and Inclusion Committee. Bobby, thank you so much for joining us. It doesn't sound like you've got time to fit us in with all of that. We're looking forward to hearing you speak.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Am I speaking now, or there's other business?
Yes, please. if you're
better just check whether I started talking. You're thinking, oh my God, we had other stuff to do.
No.
So yes, look. Thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate the opportunity. As Sarah said, I'm really, work really busily as a dementia advocate, and it's really important for me to have the opportunity to be able to speak to as many people as possible. Anybody who'll listen to me, really and truly, it's a bit that way. I had some poor researcher ring me this morning, about 20 minutes ago, saying, "Oh, I just want to talk to the person who's put their name down for some research." And I said, "Oh, well, that would be me." So she started talking. I said, "Can you tell me which research we're talking about?" I said, there are lots of research projects that I'm involved in and on the go at the moment. I don't know which one you are. Anyway, she's going to ring me back later because it decided it wasn't a very good time to be talking. But look, I'm really interested before I start in who I'm speaking to. I wonder if you could just give some indication if you're working maybe in home care or maybe one at a time. So how many of you work in home care, providing support? I do. Maybe hands. So
I'm in home care packages with Benetas.
Okay, great. So that's a couple of you. Is that?
Yeah, I'm also home care packages with Silver Chain.
Yep.
I am as well with Home Instead.
Cool. Okay. Anybody not in home care here? You're residential care, aren't you, Sarah?
No, we're community care, social support.
Community care.
Yep.
Yep. Cool. Okay.
And Bobby, I'm Sharon.
Got a thumbs up.
Sharon and Yvonne are here. We're case managers for a carer support program. So we support carers out in the community.
Cool. Oh, great. Fabulous. Oh, excellent. Okay. Well, that kind of gives me just a bit of a clearer picture. And as a psychiatrist here. Sorry, who was that again? I'm not quick enough to catch it. Samantha.
Yep, that was Samantha.
Fabulous. Pleased to meet you, Samantha. Pleased to meet you all. So that's lovely. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to take you on a bit of a journey of my journey with dementia. Some of the chat, how it happened, really, not how I got it, but how it's progressed. How I manage and keep myself active and functioning, and some of the challenges I've faced, and hopefully it'll be an interesting journey. It'll be a familiar one to some of you. You would have, you're working with people similar to me, but we're all individuals. We're all different, and because I can tell my story, sometimes I can give a little bit more insight than some of my peers who are less able to communicate nowadays. So hopefully it will help give a better understanding of maybe their pathway too. So as Sarah said, I'm a retired psychologist. I actually had a very diversified background. I came to psychology late in life. I went to university in my late 40s, did my honours year when I turned 50, and then then went on and did my master's. After that, I practiced for 13 years as a psychologist. And before that, I'd been in the corporate world. I'd been in sales and marketing, and I'm also a registered nurse. That was in the very early days, 100 years ago, I registered as a nurse. So yeah, I come from a very jagged background, I guess. So my sort of the last few years, or the last 10 years of my working life as a psychologist, I was working with people with intellectual disability. I was employed as a behaviourist, which, you know, we now have behaviourists working with people like me. But what I found out quite quickly was, what I keep telling people now is that really the behaviours that people were displaying were the result of what was going on around them. The interactions, the environment, all the things that weren't going well for them were creating behaviours, basically, people's responses to what was going on. And so I worked with my teams, and we developed a different process. And it was really about recognising the person as an individual, recognising their life, recognising what their strengths and weaknesses were, what they wanted from life, setting goals with them, working with them, and really looking at what skills needed developing, or in our case, maintaining, in order for them to be able to lead a full and happy life. And of course, you know, naturally, as these things came into events, the behaviours stopped, slowed, and became, I'll just put the timer so I recognise how long I'm waffling for, just, you know, how long this was all, you know, sorry, what was going on for them, and the behaviours went away. So that's been very useful for me, because one of the things that I used to do was to be able to, I'd write strategies and programs for them, which I now do for myself. And I believe this particular process should be available to every single person who's diagnosed with dementia, because, and reviewed, you know, people with a intellectual disability have an annual review. Their independent planning happens every year, as it should for us, to their particular condition being progressive. It would allow us then to be able to recognise where we are at that point, what assistance we needed, what support we needed, but what we could do, what could help us to maintain our function and maintain our sense of well-being, which in turn would take pressure off carers, for those of you who work with carers, and would also avoid a lot of the behaviours that people display through frustration and other reasons. So I'm going to sort of try and give you a message for each bit of the thing that I'm talking about. And the message, I think, in this part is never underestimate us. Our capacity is variable. We all come from a different starting point, but most of us, a lot of us, have very diversified backgrounds, have lots of experience in life. We're not stupid, we're much more than our dementia. And that's often where the frustration kicks in, because people treat us as if we're simple, and we're not. We're very complex. So my journey was towards the end of my working life. I was a senior clinician, and I was supervising a team of interns. And with my own clients, I would find it was getting more difficult for me to sit and hear their stories, listen to them, and take in what was going on, work out what was happening for them. Medicare had been introduced at that point in time for mental health issues, so I was working with people with their anxiety and their depression. These are still working in the field with people with an intellectual disability, but also their families. So there was a lot of angst, a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety due to various triggers. So, I would need to sit and listen for 50 minutes for a psychologist hour. And it was almost impossible for me to hold the conversation. I thought maybe I was just trying to do too much. I was overloaded because I had my client base and I also had the interns that I was supervising. But it was starting to become a real struggle for me. Also, my interns was probably where the issue occurred most. I started confusing my interns. I couldn't recognize, well, I know their faces, but I couldn't remember which clients they were talking about when they'd come to me with their clients and discussing the issues that they needed to address. I couldn't remember any of the stories of their clients. It was one step detached. So although I remembered the stories kind of my people, my own particular clients, I couldn't remember theirs. And I realized that, my time was up really. It was too late for me. I put it down to aging and overwork, a bit of burnout. So I decided that it was time to retire, which I did 6 months after that when I turned 65. I actually retired up here to the coast. So I moved away from my home, and I commuted for a little while back to Sydney to where I was working. And I decided that I'd really try to wind down and slow down my life, excuse me. And I've got a bit of a snuffle today. It's an allergy, nothing else, I don't think. And over the next 12 months, I expected things to get better, but they actually didn't. They got worse. I started, my processing is very slowed. I've always been a quick thinker, but my thinking is no longer quick. I lost the ability to multi-skill. I could only think of one thing at a time, to the point that, if I'm making a sandwich and someone talks to me, I actually have to stop making the sandwich because I can't listen to someone while I'm making a sandwich. It's something as simple as that. So, people joke over the multi-skilling thing, but it really is, it really gets in the way. I mean, it's nice to be centered and to be single-minded, but it doesn't work. Is the budgie getting in the way? Is he squeaky? If he's too loud for you, let me know and I'll shut him away, but I don't like doing that much. I can avoid it. Yeah, I also noticed that I lost the ability to sequence. Basically, my alarm would go off saying it was time to go somewhere. And I'd sort of be ready to, I'd jump up, okay, time to go. Oh, I'm not dressed, I haven't showered. I actually was still in the middle of my breakfast. So I kind of forgot what had to happen in order to reach the end point. So that was a bit of a shock. And again, I thought, I don't know what's going on. I'm relaxed now. Maybe it's because I've got no system now. You get into a pattern with work and made all sorts of excuses as to why it was going on. I went back to the UK for a holiday, which you might have picked my accent. Was my old home. So I have a lot of old friends there who have known me, since I was very young. And I'm sorry. He's distracting me now, never mind you. He's come out of his cage, so I can't do anything. So I went back to the UK and my very old friends recognised the changes in me. I go back every couple of years, so it's not that I haven't seen them for a long time, but there was enough of a gap for them to recognise the changes in me that people over here didn't. They hadn't known me for so long, for a start, because I'm an immigrant. And secondly, I see them on a more regular basis, so it's a gradual change that people don't recognise. And so my friends in the UK said, what's happened? Are you sick? And I said, no, I'm not sick. And they said, but you're not you. You're not the Bobby we know. You're very different. Your personality is different. You're abrupt. You're very blunt to the point of rudeness, and you've never been like that. And I thought, actually, I'm really short with people. I have no patience anymore, and I just snap quite regularly. But of course, I just said, oh, look, come on, I'm traveling, I'm jet lagged, give me a break. And ignored it, or tried to ignore it. The journey home on a plane on your own for 24 hours is plenty of thinking time. So I decided that with what was going on, what I was recognizing and what my friends were noticing, that it clearly I needed to get it checked out. Went through all the regular tests, initial tests to see, and my GP said, "Oh, no, you're just overtired, you're just doing too much." And I said, "No, that would have been the case 12 months ago. It's not the case now. I need to see a neurologist," and I really had to fight to see a neurologist. She said, "Oh, look, there's nothing going on. You're very coherent. There's no problem." Anyway, I went to see a neurologist who was very good. He ran a heap of tests, and took a really good history, and then he said, "Look, you're functioning really well, but there obviously is something going on in what you're describing, and I think, on the tests you're running high, but we need to monitor this. It appears that it could be frontotemporal degeneration." And I said, "Oh, okay. Thanks. I'll check this out. I'm going to just stop for a second. He's just gone back in the cage. I'm going to quickly whip you into the bedroom. I'll be 2 seconds, but otherwise he'll drive you mad. He'll drive me mad. Sorry."
He's so joyful though, that Budgie.
It is.
Bye, Budgie. There we go.
I apologise for that.
That's fine.
He's very, very spoilt, and the music's off, and you guys weren't talking. He doesn't want to listen to me talking, so he was protesting. Sorry, I was. I can't remember where I was. That diagnosis. So yeah, he said, "Look, go away. Come back and see me in a year. No need to do anything at this point in time. We'll just measure you against what we've measured today, and see where we're at. If you're worried in the meantime, come back and see me." So 12 months later, while things were still getting progressively more difficult at home, I read up everything I could on frontotemporal degeneration and scare the daylights out of myself, because you may or may not be aware there are different types. There's the behavioural and the semantic, and my lack of taking in information. He did say to me at the time, which I forgot at that point, that it was most likely semantic type, but the behavioural variant is, could be quite confronting, and that's really what you see a lot of when you're looking up frontotemporal degeneration. And I had visions of all sorts of things going wrong, and so anyway, when I went back, he ran some more tests and said, "Look, you're pretty much sitting at the same spot you were last time, but I think it's time to get some scans done and to get some neurological testing." And those showed that there were clearly problems. My testing showed that while I was functioning really highly in some areas I was performing at sort of way below average. And So it was there were significant differences in areas of my functioning, and that there was some shrinkage of my frontal lobes that showed up on the scans. So on that basis, he made the diagnosis of, at that stage, mild cognitive impairment, frontotemporal degeneration, most likely leading to frontotemporal dementia. So I was prepared for it. I knew that things were going pear-shaped. So it was kind of at that point that I decided that I could either sit at home and feel sorry for myself, or I could get off my my butt and get out there and make a difference. I got involved with Dementia Australia purely by chance. It was very lucky. Nobody actually suggested to me that I talk to Dementia Australia. It came up on my Facebook page, so I must have been recognised, some of the things I was looking at. And they were absolutely wonderful. They really, kind of gave me the confidence to get on and do things and not just sit back. They put me in touch with all sorts of services within my area. They gave me some counselling that really was fantastic. It gave me the opportunity to kind of work it all out in my brain and move forward. And asked me if I would actually present at, talk at one of their events. So I thought, okay, what do you want me to talk about? Okay, talk about what's going on for you. So it was an event. I can't remember the man's name because I'm really terrible with names, I'm afraid. He was a doctor from America who was coming out. He was really here to launch his book, I think. But he was their guest speaker and I was the keynote speaker for him. And I went along to this event in Sydney and there were 300 people in the audience, which was kind of, oh my God, I thought I was going to be talking to a room, not that size room. And after that, I decided if I could talk to that mob, then I could probably talk to anybody. And so it's gone on. So I became involved in lots of advocacy work as far as Dementia Australia was concerned. They sort of take me off to places to talk, and they're very supportive and look after me well when they do it. I got involved I've decided that on the Central Coast we needed to do some local work, so I did some groundwork. I thought I wanted to establish the Central Coast Dementia Alliance. So I put in about 6 months of groundwork on working out where I should do, what sort of things I needed to do, who I should be in touch with. And I was very lucky. The first person I got in touch with said to me, oh, do you know that there's another group of people working on developing a Central Coast Dementia Alliance. We've been working for about 18 months. We haven't really got off the ground because we're all working full time. But, basically we don't have connections with anybody on our committee, actually living with dementia. Would you be prepared to come along, talk to the committee and maybe join the committee? Which I did. And so I joined the Central Coast Dementia Alliance, and which was launched just a few months later officially, and set up a local advisory group made up of people living with dementia and their carers. So I chaired the smaller group, the advisory group, and act as the go-between between the two groups. And that has been very good. We've done a lot of dementia-friendly work here on the Central Coast, and our advisory group, have their two penneth and everything that's going out. We've launched some guidelines for the local service providers and doctors, medical staff, and so we've been able to give our input in regards to the presentation, whether it's readable for us, whether it is respectful language, etc., all the way through. So we're involved sort of first line on every aspect. I mean, I actually sit and help with the design of the stuff as well. I'm still very active in that area. One of my passions is the need to educate doctors better. The diagnosis process is not easy. As I say, I was diagnosed fairly quickly because of the major differences really in my neurological screening. But people generally are discouraged. I mean, if I hadn't pushed my GP, I wouldn't have got to see the specialist. And generally that's what happens. There's a stigma attached to dementia. People don't want to know that they've got dementia. They don't want to admit it when they do have it. Carers know what's going on, but they're often just try to protect the people that they're caring for. And so, even if it gets mentioned to the GP, if the GP says, oh, it's nothing to worry about at this stage, everybody's happy to just take that and walk away. But it is vitally important for us that people are diagnosed, because a diagnosis means that you can start putting things in place. Dementia can be held back, and I believe I continue to function because of all the stuff that I do, the stuff that I've put in place through my professional knowledge, but also my activities. I mean, the amount of work I do, I'm working more hours now than I was working towards the end of my working life in advocacy, and I'm tired. It tires me, but it also is what keeps me going. It's my purpose in life, to get out of bed and do my work. If I didn't have that, the days, very occasional days in a year that I don't, I, basically have nothing really. There's nothing really to get me out there and do stuff. I have a good social life. I'm a Rotarian. I belong to Probus, and I belong to another social group. I'm always doing social stuff as well. But in all truth, that's therapy for me. I don't want to do this stuff. I have to go out and I think, oh God, I've got to sit around a table and listen to people waffle on about nothing and not be able to follow the conversations. And I can't follow group conversations. It's too difficult for me. I can only work on a one-to-one basis. So I can talk to a person if it's sort of short question answer things, but I talk a lot because I can't listen anymore. If I was listening to this presentation, I would be, off with the fairies by now. And I'm sure many of you are, so I apologize for that. But yeah, it's so socially, I'm okay when I get there, and it's good for me because I actually function better when I'm out because there are social cues around me. So the prompts, when people do certain things, I think, oh yes, I'm supposed to be doing this, and it tells me where I'm going. At home, I use technology. I live alone. I have a home care package, level 2, and I have a carer come in and help me do a bit of cleaning and housework and stuff. But also, my major thing is driving. I can only drive locally now, so often I can't get to medical appointments or sort of further visits. So she will drive me to appointments, and that's useful because she comes in and takes note of what the doctors say in case let me write it down when I get home, so that I'm able to hold on to the information. So that's a really useful process for me. But without my technology, I couldn't function on a day-to-day basis. I use my mobile phone. I've got it set up in the normal alarm system, but basically it's a process for me during the day. So everybody has a wake-up alarm, but I have my wake-up alarm, and then 10 minutes later, alarm goes off that says, "Come and get," and it's my voice. I've recorded all my own messages because I found that bells and whistles didn't work for me. There were too many going off, and I couldn't keep track on what was happening. So I recorded all my own alarms and have fed them in. So it's my voice does my prompts. So my 10 minutes after I wake up, it tells me to get my butt into gear and stop being lazy and get out of bed. I've tried to kind of make it joke with myself in a way. tease myself, because I think I'll get less frustrated. Well, I do get less frustrated with that than if it was just something telling me that, you know, what I've got to do next. You know, and then it tells me to go to the bathroom. It tells me to, you know, get my breakfast, have my tablets, get my breakfast, all the things in sequence. So it's going off all the time, constantly during the day. And it's like having a carer living with me. You know, as carers say, well, it's time to do this. It's me telling myself that it's time to do this through my phone. And, you know, that's how I go. I mean, it's challenging. I'm without it, I'm incontinent. It reminds me to go to the bathroom because I don't recognize when I do it. It reminds me to eat and drink during the day because I don't get the normal cues from my body. Interestingly enough, at night when I'm asleep, if I need to go to the bathroom, I wake up and go, but it's because there's nothing else going on. If there's anything else going on, it's that double, I think it's the multi-skilling thing. You know, if I'm doing anything, eating breakfast, my body not thinking about the fact that I need to go to the toilet. So I do timed toileting in order to maintain that. So, you know, and I think those are the sort of things. I'm actually speaking at Ham and Care's international conference on Friday. I'm speaking, but I'm going down tomorrow, and I'm speaking on that. And I also spoke at the national conference on this because it's something that's important. And I really think that even when people aren't good with technology, that there's still a place for this. If they've got somebody to set all their alarms going for them and whatever, it saves the carer having to constantly tell the person what's happening. And I think where you get frustrated with somebody telling you what to do, if it's an alarm telling you or your own voice telling you, if that can be done, if it can be made possible for other people, then it is a lot less frustrating. You still feel empowered. And I sometimes get annoyed because it is on a repeat thing. And if I can't get to the phone, I think, I'm coming, shut up. But, you know, I'm only getting cranky with the phone. I'm not getting cranky with somebody else telling me, nagging me as it is, because the phone nags me. So, you know, and I think that's an important step for people. I've also got lots of other technology. Any research that goes on, I get involved with technology. I get involved in pilot studies. So my whole house now is monitored for its movement sensors throughout my house. And the idea being, because I live alone, I know changes in behaviour are a really important thing for people to observe. But generally, you know, my carer comes to my house occasionally. She's busy thinking about the cleaning or where we're going. She doesn't notice things, and I wouldn't think to tell her if anything's going wrong. Whereas this notices it, my sensors notice if I start getting out of bed later, or if I'm getting up a lot in the night, or you know, if I'm just sitting all day and not moving around. I've got a sensor on my front door that's set up with an alert that if the door's left open for longer than 10 minutes, it sends an alert to a base that then sends out a message to say that my door's been left open. It comes to me, and it comes to a person that I've now got monitoring my monitors to check on me. They do the physical check on me. It also, if I go out after 10 o'clock at night, if my door's opened and I'm leaving the house, it can tell when I'm leaving because none of the other movement sensors then go. It sends out an alert to say that, you know, I'm heading out at night. Is this okay? Am I going somewhere specific, or, you know, is this a problem? And if I don't respond, my carer then will ring me. It's this person that's monitoring me. I have a GPS monitor on me, so they know where I am. So they come and find me and bring me back if I'm wandering. It hasn't happened yet, but, you know, I have to be prepared. I have to think ahead because I'm doing the planning. And if I don't think of it now, it's unlikely to happen, but all this should be happening for everybody. With or without carers, it would take a lot of pressure off carers, and I think it would retain independence in the people themselves and reduce the frustration. So I've kind of gone around in a few circles. I had notes and I've jumped all over the place, but what I experience is I still have insight, which is very useful because it means that I can continue to take care of myself and plan and look after things. It also, that insight is a double-edged sword because it also means I recognize everything that goes wrong, every change. So, you know, making sure that I live in the moment and try to reduce my stress and not get bogged down with the, you know, where I'm going in the future is vital for my well-being. I think, you know, the message to that bit is basically, even though there's lots of things we can do, there are things that, you know, that trouble us and that we need support with. So don't take away our independence by doing everything for us. Try to make us as independent as possible, but recognize where we do need support. Even those of us who appear to be well-functioning people don't, you know, I don't look as if I have dementia, as people say. I don't know, you know, I'm guessing, you know, we all hate that term, but it's the vagueness that comes from us. And I know that occasionally I have that blank look on my face, particularly when I'm out in company, because I get lost in thought when I can't follow what's happening. So recognize that even though we appear to be doing really well, ask us what help we need, where we need support. As I say, I have a package, and it's only because I was able to convey to the assessors the challenges in my life. When I had my ACAT assessment, they actually decided that I needed to go into residential care because of the risks. I fixed up all the problems that were causing those risks. They didn't offer me anything other than residential care. I'm not ready to go into residential care. But they classified me as high risk because I was setting fire to things and flooding the kitchen and falling over. And they said, you know, you can't stay at home on your own. It's not safe for you. So now I have a timer fitted on my cooker so that I don't set fire to things. It goes off. It's a bugger if I want to cook soup because I have to remember to turn it back on. But, you know, it's better than setting fire. I've got a sensor on my tap so I don't flood the kitchen anymore. I use a cane to get around to stop me falling over so much. And I can stay at home. But none of these things were offered to me. I needed people to recognise that these things could help me and offer them to me. If I hadn't have been able to look those up for myself and work it out, I'd be tucked away somewhere now. I'd say this was 2 years ago. So, you know, we need our allied health workers to know what they're doing as far as neurological stuff. We need carers that are in the community, anybody that's in contact, to be there supporting people in the way that they need support in order that they can continue to stay at home. But, you know, I thank you. Sorry, that's one of my warnings. I'll just stop it. Sorry. That's my home Google reminded me to go to the toilet and have a drink of water. So, yeah, basically, you know, I appreciate everything you guys do. Just keep your people independent. Don't treat us as if we're stupid. Don't patronize us. Treat us as intelligent human beings that we are. And be there for us as we need you. And thank you very much for listening to me. Welcome to, please ask any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Bobby, and thanks so much for sharing those intimate details of your life. I think we really, as care providers, we really appreciate your honesty with those things. Probably we've never even thought of for someone who's living independently. I wanted to ask you, you said you had to go out and find all these supports, and you've had sensors installed. You did that wonderful article in the Sydney Morning Herald about AI and artificial intelligence and all the things you use. Who paid for all of that? Were they funded for you, Bobby?
Some were and some weren't. In the beginning, before I got my package, I set stuff up for myself and paid for it. Once I got the package, I now incorporate my AI in, through the package. It's funded from that. It's mostly the cost of monthly monitoring, because I don't have anybody for the equipment to be reporting back to. I have to pay people to monitor me.
Yep.
So that is, that's paid for by my package. The actual monitoring system in the house was a part of a pilot study. And so I was able to keep the equipment afterwards. I just had to pay for my own monitoring, so that was free. My GPS tracker, which is also a falls detector, was paid for out of my package. That came later. But things like my home Google that I have set up that really does a lot of monitoring for me. Even actually the cooker thing I had to pay for myself. I was only on the Commonwealth package then, and I didn't get the that wasn't paid for. So yeah, those things I paid for myself, but they're quite small costs in comparison to in relation to the amount of protection they give me. Yeah. Truly.
Yeah,
it's cheaper than paying someone to be there for me all the time, and certainly cheaper than going into residential care.
absolutely. And did you have to convince your package provider to purchase those things, or was that just a hooray, what a wonderful idea, yes, we'll spend the funds on that?
Yeah, the service provider that I went to, I'm with 5 good friends. One of their promotional things, and the reason that I actually went to them, was the fact that they used technology. I found out once I joined that they didn't use as much technology as I thought they should. And in actual fact, I picked up one of their systems that they were promoting that I used before, this monitoring system, which was a plug-in system with some of my PowerPoints. And I was the only client that was using it because they didn't promote it because nobody knew how it worked. So I taught them, really. So, my passion for technology really has pushed them. And I think from that point on, they recognized that if I said that something would be useful for maintaining my independence, that it was, that it was probably right. And so they've not argued on anything that I've said that's really required to keep me independent.
Bobby, can I ask? Sorry.
No, I was going to say, did anyone else have any questions?
I do. Bobby, I was just wondering, with your passion for technology, because I know often you, as you've mentioned, you had to do a lot of the legwork and, research things for yourself when I guess a need was identified. Did you already have that passion for technology, and then you paired it with where there were areas in your life that you might have been finding, additional difficulty? Or did you grow a passion for technology through using it and recognizing the independence that it allowed you to maintain?
Yeah, I think my passion has grown. I've always, I've loved gadgets. I've always been a gadget person. Took after my dad. He was a gadget man too. So, I've always liked anything that was a bit quirky and a bit different, and that could, do things in a different way. But I mean, I'm very confident with the computer and computer technology type, programs, not technology of a computer, but, things that it could be used for on my phone. I'm not one of these people who's frightened I'm going to wipe everything out if I touch something. If I get a new phone, I'll go through and see everything it can do and think, oh, I can use that, that's good. So I've always been like that. But it's only really, now that once you do one thing, once I found out about the alarm system, my initial alarm systems, a schedule system, as I say, were bells and normal alarms and things, which helped, but I was still getting quite confused. And I thought, you know, another 6 months down the track, I might not be able to use this. It's not going to work for me. And I can't even remember how I found out about being able to voice, you know, put my own voice to it, record my voice for alarms. But I think I'm one of the few people that do that. Because everybody I've shown it to said, "Oh wow, you know, but you know, where did you get that?" And it's just your regular alarms in your phone. You just record messages, save them under a name, and then when you go set your alarms, you can draw from your phone to you know, what alarm you're going to use, and that's what I use. So it's a very simple system, and once I'd worked that out, you know, I was kind of, I can do this, I can do anything, you know, this is fantastic. But once people know that you're into technology, people come to me. So a lot of the organizations get in touch and say, oh, we understand that you've been using this system. We've got this that does this better. And so, you know, it went from there. The cooker thing is, you know, is fairly basic. I think a lot of people have timers on their cookers. There's actually a much better system out there in America that's got a sensor on it, but it's not available. It doesn't convert over here, which is a bit unfortunate. But, you know, hopefully these things will come. So, you know, my researchers that I talk to, I mean, I work with researchers who research in technology, and I'll always say, oh, have you heard of anything that does something, you know, to help with this? So I've tried different things, and some things have been helpful and some haven't. But, you know, I recognize that a lot of people wouldn't do this, you know, either the people living with dementia or their carers, particularly, you know, as we age. I'm now 73 now. It gets harder, particularly if it's something that you've never done. But what I'd like to see is that every service has somebody that is into technology and that can offer these things and can train the staff and can set up these things for people and teach staff how to set it up and how to monitor it. And as I spoke at whichever conference it was, the National Dementia Conference, I think it was back in June, May, June, somewhere around about then. I spoke then, and I actually was approached by 3 different service organisations who were interested in setting up systems for their clients. And I thought, shit, this is what advocacy is really about. It's about making change out there. And you know, I really felt I was making progress. Unfortunately, after the initial conversation, nobody's come back. So I think they've all, you know, got busy and forgotten. So I'm talking again at the Hammond Care, and hopefully some of them will be there and it will remind them, and maybe the second time of telling it, people will say, yep, we need to do this now. Because it has to be the way of the future. You know, we all know that the system's not going to hold up. I mean, you guys have got to be better paid. But when you're better paid, who's going to pay you? We haven't got the money. The government hasn't got the money. So services are going to have to cut back people-wise. So technology has to kick in. It's the only way that we're all going to survive it. And there's more and more people with dementia nowadays living on, and they want us to stay home. So yeah, this is the key.
It's fabulous. And I love what you said, Bobby, about it taking the pressure off the family carer support network, because I think you're absolutely right. If this was just a normal part of receiving a home care package or any funded government support, you know, if staff members were offering and making the suggestion to handhold somebody through learning how to use the technology that might, you know, sort of fill a gap for the person, it not only takes pressure off the family carers, but it helps maintain independence, it empowers the person. And as you said, it really can help you just sustain your, you know, capabilities for longer. It's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions for Bobby? I know we've got a couple of minutes to spare. Anyone?
We're a silent group this morning.
Wow. That was a great presentation though. Thank you so much, Bobby.
No, thank you both, and thank you all very much for listening to me. I know it's a long presentation. It's really hard to listen to long presentations. So hopefully there was something in there that was of interest to you anyway. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Bobby, would you mind if I contacted you and just asked for some of the names of your technology just to share with other?
Sure, no problem, Sarah.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Thanks everyone for attending. Please continue to enjoy Dementia Awareness Month.
Yes.
And
yes,
enjoy your
apologies,
day.
we don't have time for the service updates that we would typically do in this meeting, but I think, you know, in a lot of ways, this is more valuable to all of us, you know, to hear about sort of advancements in the dementia space and to see someone like yourself, Bobby, as the poster girl of using and introducing technologies into the home that really have made a big impact and positive change for you. So thanks for sharing that.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Bobby.
See you next time.
Thanks, Bobby.